observing the Sorority Row trailer, the first thing we see is the audience certification information. This appears in practically all film trailers. This also applies to the horror film The Purge. Since both films are under the same genre, they both begin with showing audiences that are suitable to view that film. Looking at The Purge, the film has been rated at R, which is restricted, by the MPAA. They are the ones who rate films and have total control of audiences that are allowed to see it. Without having a certificate by the MPAA, it is illegal to distribute and advertise your film. This applies also to Sorority Row and White Chicks. As for Sorority Row, the MPAA has allowed their films to be targeted for all audiences. So this puts them at a good stage and a better advantage than The Purge because anyone from the ages would be able to watch this film. When it comes to White Chicks, from a completely different audience from The Purge and Sorority Row, the first shot we see in the trailer is the studio logo. This implies that for different genres, the first shot audiences see may possibly be different, and this is evident through White Chicks. This trailer does not follow codes and conventions for film trailers because in practically every film, the first shot we should expect to see is the audience certification information. The purpose of starting off with the audience certificate information is because when audiences for the first time watch this trailer, they would want to know if they are suitable to watch the film. Most people tend not to notice the audience certification information in the first shot till the end when it actually shows which audience the film is available for. Whereas for White Chicks, their purpose may have been to advertise their studio, which worked alongside their film. By looking at the trailer, we can already notice that this film would be targeted for all audiences because there are no sexual scenes and there is minor violence. Looking at the Sorority Row trailer, we can notice that the genre for it would be horror, and this also applies to The Purge. However, when it comes to White Chicks, the genre is different. It is comedy and crime. Whilst watching Sorority Row trailer, the first thing I noticed, which made me assume it's from a horror genre, is in the trailer. Watching Sorority Row trailer, the first thing I noticed, which made me assume it's a horror genre, is in the trailer that is 7 seconds into it. There is a tagline which says "a prank." As soon as I saw that line, I knew that something was going to go wrong. This tagline is not really used in horror films, but it still fits in the codes and conventions. 42 seconds into the trailer, they are driving in the middle of the night and everyone is panicking because of the silly prank. This could be a typical scary film because of how editing is used in this scene to create tension between the actors. 55 seconds into the trailer, again, this follows conventions of horror. They are in an unknown area in the night with no one around except for them. Some seconds after, a prop is used, which could be said to be called a spear. This is one of the many props directors would use in a horror film, which signifies death, and someone tends to get killed with someone with that prop, which also happened in this trailer. 1 minute and 8 seconds into the trailer, a tagline slowly appears onto the screen saying "a secret" in the color white and with a dark blue and black background. Some seconds after, it also says "no one would ever tell." This connotes that there is something these group of girls are hiding and only one person is aware of it. This actually fits in with the codes and conventions of horror films because the tagline always determines what the film could potentially be about. Now moving on to The Purge. Now reviewing The Purge. The first shot we should expect to see is the audience certification information. However, for this film, the audience ratings was an R, which means restricted. This shows that only a limited audience are allowed to watch this film. The target audience for The Purge is much more specific than Sorority Row. Moving on, the second shot I noticed, which I thought followed the codes and conventions, are at least 20 seconds into the trailer, are the shots of the CCTV showing violence and the world with fire and a voiceover. Most voiceovers are used in horror films to make the scene more intense and scary for viewers. In horror trailers, there is always violence with people dying or getting seriously hurt. Secondly, another shot I noticed was an aerial shot of a black guy running in the middle of a neighborhood with no one around, which is seen by CCTV, and he says, "Someone help me." Audiences should be familiar with that line because they are always used when something bad is happening. Last of all, 1 minute and 47 seconds into the trailer, there is a little girl swinging in a white dress. This also follows codes and conventions because in horror films, people feel the need to use children as a symbol of evil. Moving on to White Chicks. White Chicks, the first shot we see is the studio that produced and distributed their film, which is Columbia, which is a big major studio. This doesn't follow codes and conventions of film trailers because what we normally see would be the ACI, which is the audience certification information. Secondly, in the next shot when the two guys are Secondly, in the next shot, when the two guys are at the shop shooting some guys, it portrays violence but in a different context. They are jumping from one place to another. Audiences will find this humorous instead of frightening because of the background music and setting. 48 seconds into the trailer, there is a dancing competition at a club. The surroundings look fun and exciting, somewhere people would want to be. By looking at the genre, we can see that the way things are put together are totally different compared to the way horror trailers are put together. The film White Chicks is filmed throughout the day, whilst the other two horror films, they are mostly done in the night. First of all, based on what I have analysed from Sorority Row and The Purge, their settings, props, costumes and music is similar. First of all, in Sorority Row, the setting of the film is set in a high school and a sorority house. In some films, we know that something bad happens when we are taken to a sorority house. Some shots are filmed in the day, but when bad things start to happen, we suddenly go into the night. This makes it intense for audiences and much scary for them. The same thing applies for The Purge. Whilst watching this trailer, one thing that I noticed is the setting and the time of day this film was shot. This is done mostly in the night. Only one or two parts of the trailer are in the morning and afternoon. On the other hand, when we focus on White Chicks, every scene in the trailer is done at broad daylight. Even in the first shot, when the guys were fighting, we can see violence, but it is in the day, which makes it not even scary for audiences. In terms of props used for these three films, in the two horror trailers, the costumes which are used are similar. For example, the use of a mask to hide the killer's face, the use of a cloak outfit in Sorority Row, and the use of violent equipment, such as spears, knives, guns, and so on. As for White Chicks, only a gun is used, and just silly props such as wigs, fake breasts, and a fake face. Same thing applies for the costumes. When it comes to music, in my two horror trailers, the music which is used is scary, slow, and intense, which shows the audience something bad is about to happen. But as for The Purge, non-diegetic music is used, which is slow, sad, and romantic sort of song. Whilst in Sorority Row, diegetic music is heard from the high school students having fun. Non-diegetic music is also used for White Chicks at the beginning. It doesn't sound scary at all. The soundtrack is fast, bubbly, and energetic. Hearing from the soundtrack, we can tell that nothing bad is going to happen so far. Looking at Sorority Row typography reminds me of some trailers. This is because most horror trailers tend to use the colour white and black background. This symbolises danger, death, hatred, and betrayal. The title, which is shown at the end, has more effects because of the red, bloodied line underneath it. The same thing applies to The Purge. The colour white is used, which follows conventions, and the background of the tagline is black. Black is very symbolic for negative events. In White Chicks trailer, their typography is different. For example, their font and colour of their text are to do with more bright colours such as blue and white. This follows creative conventions because comedy genres tend to have bright colours for the taglines and titles instead of dark colours, which is meant for horror trailers. Some SFX and CGI is used to create intensity in those scenes and make everything look real, e.g. the house blowing up. 39 seconds into the trailer of the house burning down, the use of CGI is used to make things look real. 2 minutes and 3 seconds to the trailer, there's a scene of the guy breaking the window, which shows CGI as well. And in White Chicks, 12 seconds to 40 seconds, some SFX is used for the shooting scene. Apart from that, hardly any special effects is used in that trailer. Analysing the font of the taglines and the titles for Sorority Row, the tagline font and colour doesn't reflect the genre of the film. The colour is white and the font that is used seems to be boring and dull, something that could be used in a genre that is romance or comedy, but it doesn't work well for horror trailers. However, towards the end of the trailer, when the title is shown, the colour is still white, which doesn't seem bad because it works well with the font and there is a background in each letter of, I'm guessing, the previous scene. The red that is underlined works well and also makes it seem scary. The voiceover or narrative voice also works well as well. His voice is slow, deep, scary, which we hear in all horror trailers which use voiceovers. The same thing applies to The Purge. The font that is used is boring and dull and the colour is also white. Horror trailers seem to use white a lot for their taglines. The font and colour for The Purge is also boring and not scary at all to me. The voiceover that is used is actually by the stars in the trailer, and also the part when they make the crime legal, the voice that is used is scary and horrific. Whilst White Chicks, the voiceover is soft, funny and exciting. The font used suits the trailer and its genre, which is shown at the end of the trailer. For each of the trailers, horror and comedy, I've noticed that the title all appear at the end of the trailer, so nothing is superimposed over any image. They all show the scenes and let the title to last. Personally, I think that the main reason why titles appear in trailers is to keep audiences aware of the name of it, just in case they want to go and watch it in cinemas. There cannot be a trailer which does not show the name of the film, because they would instantly lose audiences because no one knows the name. For the two horror trailers, the title for Sorority Row appears quickly, whilst for The Purge it slowly fades in with the American flag, then stands out boldly. In both cases, this could be seen as scary and gives time for audiences to see and remember the title of the film. As for White Chicks, the title is shown quickly because in the trailer all shots are moving fast, but also the voiceover says the name of the trailer in a suitable way in order for the viewers to remember it. For each of the trailers, horror and comedy, I've noticed that the title all appear at the end of the trailer, so nothing is superimposed over any image. They all show the scenes and let the title to last. Personally, I think that the main reason why titles appear in trailers is to keep audiences aware of the name of it, just in case they want to go and watch it in cinemas. There cannot be a trailer which does not show the name of the film, because they would instantly lose audiences because no one knows the name. For the two horror trailers, the title for Sorority Row appears quickly, whilst for The Purge it slowly fades in with the American flag, then stands out boldly. In both cases, this could be seen as scary and gives time for audiences to see and remember the title of the film. As for White Chicks, the title is shown quickly because in the trailer all shots are moving fast, but also the voiceover says the name of the trailer in a suitable way in order for the viewers to remember it. Observing Sorority Row trailer, I have noticed that the main stars in the film are not mentioned at all in the trailer. However, 10 seconds into the first scene, the camera does a close-up of each of the main stars' faces, so audiences would be aware of the people that are leading the film. The Purge had a similar approach on the way they introduced their main stars. The main stars' names are not mentioned throughout the trailer. Additionally, it is difficult to notice who the main characters are because there are hardly any shots of them individually. There's just a focus on a house with a family. On the other hand, when we move on to White Chicks, stars' names are mentioned by the voiceover and their faces shown in the trailer, whilst mentioning their names and a scene they are in. This shows that different genres may have different reasons as to why they do not put actors or actresses' names as part of their trailer.